Hello people, welcome back. This question is from GATE 2017 exam and is for 2 marks. They're asking what will be the output that is printed if we call fun1 and pass 5 as the parameter. So definition of fun1 and fun2 is given. Now whenever you call any function, a activation record corresponding to that function is pushed onto the stack. So for this function fun1, we are going to push an activation record because this function is called. Suppose this is that activation record. So it corresponds to function call fun1. Okay. Inside this function, there is a local variable that is named n and is of integer type. Now all the local variables, they are allocated memory inside the activation record of that function. So this local variable gets memory in the activation record. We are passing 5 to this n. So the value 5 is copied in n. That means n is equal to 5. Okay. Now let's start executing this function line by line. First line says, if n is equal to 0, then return. But n is not 0, n is 5. So we will not execute this return statement. Okay. Then second line says, printf %dn. That means print whatever is the current value of n. So I'm writing the answer here or the output here. So 5 will be printed. Okay. Then third line says fun2 n minus 2. That means you are trying to call a function named fun2 and you are passing 5 minus 2, that is 3. So the value that we are passing is 3 to this function. Now see, call means you will start executing this function and see, whenever you will return, you will resume the execution from here. That means when this function call is completely executed, after returning back, you have to execute this print statement. Okay. So this is line number 4. So I'm trying to remember that after executing this fun2, I have to resume the execution of fun1 from line number 4. So I'm writing 4 here like this. Okay. Now this is a function call. That means the activation record will be pushed. Suppose this is that activation record. There is a local variable n inside this function fun2. So this n will get allocated inside activation record of fun2. Okay. Now the value that is passed to n is 3. So value of n is equal to 3. Okay. Then let's start executing this code line by line. First line says, if n is 0, then return. No, n is 3. Okay. Whenever you are writing n inside this function fun2, then you just see this value that is present in the activation record of this function. Okay. Now don't see this value. So value of n is 3, that is not 0. That means we will not execute this return statement. Next line is printf value of n. So n is 3. Just take this value. Then you are trying to call function fun1 with value plus plus n. Plus plus means this is a pre-increment operator. That means first increment the value of n. So increment it. This becomes 4. Then pass this value 4 to fun1. Okay. So the value that is passed is 4. Now because this is a function call, so a new activation record will be pushed. And the value that is passed to n is 4. So n is equal to 4. Now, when this statement it is completely executed, that means you have completed all of these 4 lines, you will return back and you have to execute this last line. Okay, that is line number 8. So I'm trying to remember that line number 8 has to be executed when this function ends. Okay. Now, if n is equal to 4, then return. No. Sorry, if n is equal to 0, then return. N is not 0 because n is 4. So you will not execute this return. Then printf %dn. This value will be printed, which is 4. Then you are trying to make a function call and you are passing the value n minus 2. That is 4 minus 2, which is 2. So the value passed is 2. Okay. So activation record will be pushed. Now whenever you return, you have to execute this line. See, fun2 will execute all of these lines. After returning, you have to execute print statement, that is line number 4. So I'm writing 4 here. Then you can see this function will be called fun2. If n is equal to 0, then return. No, n is 2, so don't return. Then printf n, that means 2 will be printed. Then fun1 plus n. So first execute plus, that means increment it to 3. Then call function fun1. Now inside this function fun1, first line says if n is equal to 0, then return. No, n is not 0, so don't return. Then printf n. N is 3, so I'm printing 3. Then function 2 is called and parameter passed is 3 minus 2, that is 1. So 1 is passed. Now see, n is not 0 because value of n is 1. Then printf %d n. So 1 will be printed. Then fun1 is called with plus n as the parameter. So plus n means this is incremented to 2 and the value that is passed is 2. Okay, 2 will be passed. Now we have to execute this function fun1. First line is if n is 0, then return. No, n is not 0. Second line is print n. So print this value of n, which is 2. Then third line is fun2 and pass the value n minus 2. Now n is 2, n minus 2 will be 0. That means we are passing 0 here. Okay. So new activation record is pushed for this function fun2 and n has the value 0. Now see, whenever this function ends, that means this function, whenever it completely ends, then you have to execute this line printf because it is still remaining. Currently, we are trying to call a function and its activation record is pushed. After this function call completely ends, you have to execute line number 4. So I'm writing 4 here. Now see what will happen. If n is equal to 0, then return. And n is actually 0. So that means you are going to return. Return means the activation record for the latest function or the current function will be popped and the function will end. Okay. This is the first function that has completely executed till now. For all of these functions from here to here, at least one line is remaining. Okay. Now this function is popped and you will go back to the previous call. That means you will start execution from here. So that means you will execute line number 4. See, we have noted down that line number 4 is remaining. So execute line number 4. It says printf n and value of n is 2. So I'm printing 2. Then see, this function call has ended. All the lines of this function fun1 are completely executed. So this function call has ended. And hence this activation record will be popped. Okay, because last line has been executed right now. Now see, you will return back to the previous function or the function that has called this one. And you will see line number 8 is remaining. So execute line number 8. Line number 8 is printf n. So for this one value of n is 2. That means again 2 will be printed. Now for this function last line has been completed right now. So pop this from the stack and return to the previous function. That is this one. For this execute line number 4. That is print only. So print 3. Then similarly 3 will be printed again. Then 4 will be printed. Then again 4 will be printed. And 5 will be printed. So this is the output. You can see output as 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, now you exactly know how things are working and how we are getting this output. Now I will like to discuss a shortcut for solving such questions. We have already seen that shortcut many times, that is the tree method. So let me just discuss it quickly for this question. So you are calling function fun1 and value passed is 5 like this. Now see, we have called this function fun1 with value 5. It is not 0, so this will not be executed. Then printf n. N is 5, so printf 5. That means you are trying to print the value 5. Second line is fun2 n minus 2. So function fun2 is called with value n minus 2. N is 5, n minus 2 will be 3. Okay. Then third line is printf n. So this line will be executed after this line has completely executed. Okay. Then you are calling function fun2 with value 3. Now see, f2 is called with value 3. 3 is not equal to 0. So return will not be executed. First line that will be executed is printf n. That means printf 3. Okay. Then second line that will be executed is fun1 plus n. So current value of n is 3. And by executing plus n, we have incremented that value. That means actual value has changed to 4 from 3. So f1 is called with parameter 4. Okay. And then last line that will be executed is printf n. So already we have changed n. That means now don't think that value of n is 3. It is actually 4 because here it has incremented. Then just try to trace this call also. Now you can see this will be the recursion tree that you are getting. Just try to see what all values will be printed. So first print statement is 5. 5 is printed. Then after that, second print statement is 3. 3 is printed. Then 4. 4 is printed. Then 2. 2 is printed. Okay. Then there will be some more calls. Okay, I haven't drawn it completely, and you don't also need to draw it completely. By just drawing these two steps, you can get the answer by rejecting some options. Okay, see. So some values will be printed here. So I'm skipping some values. Then you'll print 3, 4, see. It will be like this: 3, then 4, then 4, then 5. So 3, then 4, then 4, then 5. You know last 4 values and first 4 values. If you want all of these values, you can draw this tree completely. Okay. So you have to trace it top down and like this.